It is important that I mention, education is one of the policies. I am sure I was invited to talk about policies. Education is one of the, in fact, education and health are associating the level of the income. They go to schools or to classes that are, in our day schools, in the secondary education, we have a program called Kiharu Masomo Bora. And we do not require an ID for the parent to confirm. I am glad even actually this academic year, which is also the calendar year, we have over 2,000 students who have crossed borders to come and live with their aunties, to come and live with their uncles in Kiharu. Come to school in Kiharu, they are assimilated in that program automatically. And in that program, the learners actually eat in school, only paying that 1,000. The bag but very difficult in implementation. They eat in school from Monday to Saturday, those who want to attend schools on Saturday. I hope even my accent can tell you where I come from. Our staple food is maize and beans. Every last Friday of the month, we serve them chapati for lunch, all our day schools, just to make education exciting. I am also excited to be here talking about entrepreneurship because I was in Kenyatta University in my undergrad. And therefore my mom came because my father left us some years back. So when my mother came, of course, with other women, late lunch, and they gave speeches. And being the person who was graduating, I was the last one to give. I told my mother that as they pray with my for me not to get a job. Because I thought if I needed to make impact to the community, to our country, I had to take a very long route in having a constant income. Because a constant income is predetermined. You are given a check that is already written. But when you venture into business, you are given a check that is open. You can write whichever amount. So I actually never looked for a job since I graduated. I decided there and then that down there to now what we are doing currently in various sectors, in telecom and others. So I hope I am having the right audience. Of those organizations to look for a job. We are actually here to learn, including myself, to learn on how to make more impact. And more impact is having an open check, not a check that. And in that, then, other people have taken us through the micro part of it in terms of how to do it. The mandate I was called is because of my level as MP, as a servant of the people, and also participating in registration. And I'll try to restrict myself there within the few minutes I'll be talking over here. One of the things that is important is that I warn you early enough, I may not be very agreeable to some of my colleagues who have spoken. Because in terms of entrepreneurship, I actually believe in the extreme. I am middle right, so to say. And I'm not middle left. What comes there is communal, community-based. Those are very good terms to talk about. But I look at what is it that actually brings impact to the communal. At a country like China, before 1976, we all know Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao Zedong of Communist Party of China. He had a lot of socialism in it. Because you could go to the farm, till the land, but you're actually not the owner of the harvest. You're only the owner of the proportion of the harvest. Leading. Dispensations of a human being leading is actually a dispensation of policy. So Mao Zedong of China, but the economic side of it is that Chinese people died out of famine, out of hunger. 1970, in terms of the definition, Mao Zedong appears to be more social. We don't strictly ground ourselves on the definition. We ground ourselves on the output. Because socialism, communism, almost against communism. 400 million Chinese lifted out of poverty, output. South Korea, 1962. Comes in, the per capita GDP of a South Korean then was less than GDP per capita. So GDP per capita, income per capita of a South Korean was lower than a Tanzanian. Now, about helping and assisting public resources and policies directly assisting private enterprise. Hyundai was a small company for far-right entrepreneurs because they cut across. So very many bright minds around STEM actually went to the US. Some found themselves in Stanford University. They are big names now out of other companies, but even as they founded people, early on, Elon Musk joined them. He's South African, actually. Funding from venture capital, Wall Street, and that is the creation of all the tech behemoths. Is actually not South American by birth, but out of government policy. If you look at the highest capitalized company in the US now is Microsoft, over $3 trillion. The CEO is Indian. If you look at a company like Google, the CEO is another Indian, born out of India. Is the one that shapes policy. That even as we talk about entrepreneurship, and I want to take over from Janji, and I'm trying to meld between the almost far right to show how interconnected they are. I was listening to Jaji about Kakuma. Your bedroom was the bank, was actually the banker of the bank, because you are keeping money there. Then you go back there. Do you know what you mentioned? You didn't mention a supermarket. You social entrepreneurship is more about being egalitarian. Then it shows there is a very important component that the where money is distributable across many people. And I'm saying so because promotion of social entrepreneurship is about devolving about quarterly reports. We are also talking about impact. But what is impact? Just try to think what impact is. Like in Kenya, we give 70 years and above some stipend every month. It is a social intervention. But what has the government said? They said money. So money is also very integral then. Then in my take, that's why I said, respectively I made. I keep saying, I was in another place I was saying, in the economic class we say, it is not out of the benevolence of the baker that we enjoy. And I go and buy. And I think when an economy is organized in such a manner where the real humanity is at play and the real humanity is self-centeredness And another name of self-centeredness is selfishness, where as I pursue my interest, inadvertently, I actually then hand over. For example, in the streets of Nairobi, if the government took up the roles of transporting us to our jobs in the to come pick you and take you home, it will be chaos. But capitalism comes, organizes the selfishness of a person who wants to make money out. There is one thing that bothers me as a leader, and we are here to look for solutions. I usually say when I'm speaking, economy performs. Look at this. You have private sector-led economy has happened in the US, in the UK, and in all the developed countries. Tell me one African country you'll go as an investor with 1 billion US dollars or even 100 million US dollars, and you don't get proposals that if you want to invest here, you those who don't understand Kiswahili, I'm sure you get interpreters. We have an economy that wants to thrive. So we are operating below the radar all the time, below some ceiling. Comes in that you have to be politically correct now to make a breakthrough there. That for you to start an industry in this arena or in this way, then some person have to have some stake in, some person taking you through the ropes. We have to start celebrating entrepreneurs. They don't exist for themselves. And I want to pose this question to all of us. Aliko Dangote. For the black Nigerian billionaires, because they have made billions out of Nigeria. And they are blacks. I'm still on government policy, actually. He starts with trading cement, trading sugar. Government policy is made, he becomes a manufacturer instead. In Africa, to help among many other economies, Nigerian economy, in many ways. Job creation, forex, and the rest. How much money do you need to spend even if you are to live 200 years? Even if you allocate money that you'll be sleeping stress he would go through in coming up with a refinery. We may look at it selfishly and say he's making money, but for what money? He already has enough money to spend. What he's doing is to money. That's money you can spend for as long as you live. So every other thing you are doing past that, you are actually an agent of the country. And even in the presidential medals, Because when you see a person employing 500 people, 200 people, they are not employed in his house to wash and to cook. They are employed as a cog, as a wheel of the economy going forward. So entrepreneurship as a factor of production with its right price. Lastly, we are in the budget making process in Kenya. Not before non-Kenyans. It's just because I'm here now I have to make these remarks briefly. It's not maybe even for the conference, but they are interrelated. We're in the budget making process. This is the most far-reaching fiscal policy period in any country, because a country rides on two policies: monetary policy and fiscal policy. Anything around finance bill and everything about budget is a fiscal policy of government. It's either about tax or about spending or about borrowing. All those are fiscal policies. Unfortunately, like scientists who are here, you go to a laboratory when you want to test something. You mix this and this, it gives you this color. So you experiment. In economics, you only experiment by doing. Or you of economics is history. That's the only way. Now, we have different policies changing in Kenya every year. We now have the finance bill in the House. I am saying it objectively because Kenya is ours. If you look at the policies we have created for the last, let's say, 3 years, through the finance bill itself, you know, is a huge amount of money. Over 70 billion every year is a levy. Now, if you go to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, sector going up, we had a shrinking construction sector. Then we need to ask ourselves, even as we deliberate on the current one and say maybe there is no additional this or that, is it that the government is spending money or the private sector spending money? So you ask yourself, who is more efficient? There's no two way. When you cut off 70 billion from pay, you are just saying as a government, I'm cutting this money to do the construction myself. Okay, because the government, once it's a policy, the money is cut. Construction is better left to the private sector of houses. And I'm using empirical data from government, not from myself. It is because it is the first time for many years, if you remove COVID years, that you are having construction sector shrinking other than increasing in terms of its size. The other thing it has become something I'm speaking about because it is very important. And I'm not saying so for anyone to reply. On the floor of the House. 4.2 2 trillion shillings. We have budgeted to borrow close to 900 billion shillings. So it's higher than the last year. So I'm asking Kenyans this question. We need to get out of the hole of borrowing and unsustainable debt. If you fall in a borehole or a ditch, an abandoned borehole which never produced any water, I'm just saying a ditch, and you need to get out of it, and your friend gives you anga or a hole ya kuchimba, and he tells you the best way to get out of this place, you keep digging the hole. I want you want to get out of unsustainable borrowing. Every succeeding year, we must borrow less than the previous year. Now we are doing the reverse. We are borrowing more money this year than we borrowed last year in a debt trap. That is not the reality. That is an oxymoron. That is a contradiction of facts. You know the beauty about Kenya nowadays, everything is anywhere. You can just Google the things I'm saying because it's government documents I'm referring to. Lastly, I am concerned are the decisions that were made in the past years. The decisions we are making today will affect us today and the other securitization that is to be paid by Kenyans. And we also want to securitize something called the sports fund. I am a next 7 years. Instead of being patient for this money to be collected and spent, since we want Kenyans to clap for us as leadership, so we want to spend that money now. This money, we will also have needs to repair roads for the next 7 years. We also want to securitize sports fund, to build stadiums now, get clubs today, and then Kenyans are overburdened for the next many years on that securitization. Anyone dealing with securitization in the government of Kenya must know that it has potential. Because, one, we are not declaring it anywhere. In the budget, it's not there. In Parliament, there is no committee of Parliament that has dealt with that money. The money is already borrowed from commercial banks. Let us be prudent. Let us walk the talk. When we say we are not overburdening the country with borrowing, let us actually walk the talk of borrowing less every year than we borrowed the previous year. And I want to end it there and say, economics. The beauty about the economy, you cannot substitute figures with words. With the time, it catches up with you. The same government has released the data I'm talking about. Ahead of us, Rwanda was ahead of us, Uganda was ahead of us. Well, Rwanda was growing at 7%, Kenya was growing at around 4.something%. These are far-reaching on the destiny of a nation. And whatever decision we make today, we must be cognizant that, however appealing we package it, very soon, a bad decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Mheshimiwa, allow me to invite all the speakers for the past session since morning to come.
For every civil society organization, I was looking at an opportunity. Why? We are now remodeling a number of Ethiopia, Ghana, and others The call to action is, let's go back and push for policies and a legal framework for social enterprises. Like I had the ambulance organization, let's embrace AI. Let us go.
Before we move to the next round of introductions, I think Mr. Symphorium will.
When I received the invitation to come here, farmers and micro enterprises with innovative solutions, I realized that last year, the AU, maybe the same way saying what should be the key leadership characteristics, what will be our common understanding of the context of the social, today's context. I said maybe I need to come up with one word that really sum up by the complexity of our world. Secondly, it's also a kind of the failure of even the development. We have realized that all the principle related to global politics has been challenged. How? We've been dancing. We've seen now political leader challenging everything, shooting down USAID, doing things. What about corruption and all that? So I'm very confused. So we are trying to understand that it has become now relative. It depends from who is talking. But secondly, I want to reflect the same way. That's my second point on. Last year, the AU has adopted the social and solidarity economy model, saying we are now tired. But again, here there is problem to be reflected as we are here social leaders. And when principle coming to conflict. When you look at the French, I have the privilege of having the French culture and the English culture. In the solidarity and social economy is trying to be set against we need to discuss is the social and solidarity business model Africans, or it's another concept and probably because we don't have enough funding, we are going to go for it. Who is leading the EU? If it is leaders who decide what to be done, then if Africans, if we are not really it, then we are not going to get any practical insight. Then my question comes to reflect on leadership. And start reflecting even as a social leader, as a teacher, as a politician, if Africa, we are going to adopt the social and solidarity model as a facilitate making decision, taking action for the good of the organization, for the people. And then I found the person of character. It means what? We should be able to as businessmen and businesswomen, or leaders and political, if we are not able to take ethical decision, trying to find what is good for us, demonstrating humility, because today we have realized that social economy is not a business for one person, for one institution. Actor must develop a kind of humility so that we can integrate more and more people. Second principle is putting people first. Money, if it is money, then we are perpetuating the capitalistic model and others. We should be able to put people, the community, the citizen, the neighbor, at the center of everything we are trying to do. Finding a way of saying the 12 million, 13 million. It should be which impact I'm making to neighbors, to people around me. This means we should be able to help others. If we do business, the life of the people around us, then we are not doing anything. Third principle is having a vision, foresight. And this is very critical for political leaders. And we should be critical. You know, sometimes last year, I was contacted by a big company that gave me enough money, me to do. I find a great conflict between my vision of development and what they wanted me to achieve. Then I told them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to. Money if the money is not fulfilling the African agenda. Or because we want money, we need to go for it. Fourth, system thinking. A leader must be able to think complexity, and then how is he simplifying this to achieve things that impact people on the ground? I said you cannot achieve today great impact on the ground if you are not able to collaborate. And I think that's why Akose is here, and that's why we are here, all of us, because we believe that want to be real, the social economy leaders, we need to be able to share what we know, what we are able to do. I believe that are we respected leaders in our communities, by our client? What are the values? We should be able to be more and more cautious of the role we need to implement.
Thank you so much. I think we picked from yesterday that there is a lot of passion that we expect from presentations from our speakers as we continue the program. So ladies and gentlemen, just before we close the keynote sessions with the chief guest, I'd like to invite Dr. Cecilia Wandiga, her group, when we were doing the icebreakers, said that they love African wear. I think she's already living that reality, and I hope that we have more passion from you too. Thank you so much.
All of you for coming to participate. Here today to talk about the advancing the frontier of innovation. I've heard solidarity. The only direction. I'm here to explain what we're being asked to from the scientific research community to guide towards. Finances. Some of the challenges are big. Why is it that money's not flowing? When we ask the European Investment Bank, what is that? SME. And they want at least an 8% return on that fund. What's the challenge? That right now, most companies across Africa, you'll get a so they don't understand why it is that that negative return is happening. Is it scaling? Is it skilling? I think there's a lack of mezzanine capital somewhere in there. How do we show African leadership? And what do I mean by that? The big money, the big industry is moving to what is called net zero, decarbonization. Direct air capture. You'll hear where we're working on, which is biochar. How does a person tell you how they're going to give you 25 million per year in sales on something they've never seen before? Right? And that's the challenge before us. And not just that we're saying it, but we have to compete against those in the global world who have, for example, we now have trade facilitation bonds. Great. I'm working on decarbonizing the construction sector. The UK now has a 10% biodiversity net gain. Any construction project has to create a 10%. Sit down as a researcher and put a valuation on academic to academic transfer so that somebody, biochar, what is biochar? You know charcoal. Biochar means you use the same process, but you can do higher biodiversity mix. You can make it from circular feedstocks, whether it's organic waste, moving into in this advanced decarbonized economy. Now, I've said all that. Envision and tell the story of our future, of a future we've never imagined.
Give us very brief remarks, then we shall proceed to the final keynotes.
Thank you.
As introduced, I'm Albert Wambugu. As also indicated, I'll be brief. Mine is to, there are so many things that we could say that we see ourselves transforming people's lives through a very participatory process in economic terms. But then we realize that this person needs to feel that they also are dreaming and they have a plan to do together. We have now managed even to see how the coming together that has been even organized through like ACOSE, we are able to bring forth a certain manner, even as people do business. Increased decision making where men and women are in decision making about how money is spent. So some things that are basic. So the social return on investment helps us to calculate the amount of dollar value that is coming into the business. The social and the environmental values. And at the end of it all, we see out of, like, let's say a single dollar, we have even seen up to 15 times of value. But when you look at how much influence it has had on the other people around, it is a value that you would want to tell about. Where people are saying we do this and this is the impact we are delivering. Maybe to wind it up, I have two stories. One is and she told us about her normal before we came through. And she said that she was living next to an ashram. Then she told us that after the training, one word she used is that you opened my eyes. And what happened is that she told us these entrepreneurs in other countries, and we took this young man, he was called Karim. So when we formed the group, when he formed the group, 3 May, we are also cleaning the whole of the estate, and they are allowing us to actually pick garbage from the landlords. And looking at also the environment component, we have been able to see a lot of transformation, both. But for me, I stand to say that as we go together,
able to share, including the Youth Innovation Awards. We hear from the chief guests.
Honorable MP, before Mheshimiwa comes, but as I listened carefully, and also banking institutions, my work was to collect the credit. We used to give refugees loans. So my work as a field monitor, different organization. And I went in for purpose regime by then. To some people, at times they are shocked when they hear this. When the war in Ukraine started, 2 weeks, I was actually assigned with the HQ of the population that we were serving. So people will ever ask you, oh, ulikuwa Ukraine? Were you in Ukraine? I'll say yes. Why have I shared those 3 analogies? Send an invitation to all of you. There is a particular group in our communities. They are called displaced populations, commonly referred as refugees. To Finance Corporation, yesteryears, and more than 51.6 million USD is the economy in Kakuma. 3% of the gross is that Kenya alone has more than 836,000 of them. Kenya alone. Initially, they were in 2 camps, Kakuma refugee camp and Dadaab refugee camp. Passive recipients of aid, they are agents of change. Displaced populations are not burdens, they are builders. They are the cornerstone of integration, self-reliance, and long-term stability. This vision aligns powerfully with which champions the rights, self-reliance, and economic inclusion of displaced persons. For the Catholics, it finds deep resonance in the Catholic Church social in ever relevant today that economic structures must serve people, not the others. They are pathways to dignity, leadership, and borrow a leaf from Brother Jonas. When I first met him, I remember he said that we must create ecosystems around the solution to contribute meaningfully to national and regional development.
From the Refugee Consortium of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, you've experienced that? Is that true or false? True. True or false? Okay, so even if you don't know, just guess one. It has to be yes or no. So true or false? But huh? Ripe ones float, they do. Okay, and ripe ones, they sink. Before we bring in Brother Jonas to guide us onto the next session, is that human beings and bananas share at least 50% of our DNA. Yeah, I thought you said that you're also scientists apart from being social entrepreneurs. You guys know about DNA? So just imagine that your DNA and the DNA of a banana are almost the same, at least 50%. So, and I think that's why they would want to float in water, because we also float, right? Great, thank you so much. Please clap for yourself for being a very wonderful audience so far, as I bring on stage Brother Jonas to guide us into the next steps. as we usher in the chief guest. Appreciate Brother Jonas, who is also our host today.
Good morning. I hope that you are getting inspired. Before I bring to stage our chief guest, I want to say this. I think I'm allowed to say it. When we were preparing for a course, I always like to have politicians in the room so that they understand what we are doing. We need them, okay? And last year they told me the one you need to invite Honorable Ndjinjoro. Two people kept telling me that they're in the room, those people. And I asked them why. They said, bring him, and then you'll understand why. Last year, until we invited him last year, until that afternoon, he was supposed to be in communication with his PA. Something happened. You have to put up with that with the politician. When you invite a politician, you have to be Thomas. You believe when you see them. And I'm very happy that he responded positively. Why? Because what we are talking about here that. Probably he will tell us about that. And that's the little I know about him. And Honorable Ndjinjoro is the MP Haru constituency. He's serving his second mandate. That's already a good sign in office, where he was recognized for his dedication for the and the development, his engagement in development. So we are not bringing politicians who are politicians. We are bringing politicians who are entrepreneurs. In the country for 5 years. The reason why I think we need him here today is also now that we have the African Union agenda on social economy, that is going to be one big agenda for our network, the continental network that we have that we call to ask him also by the end of his speech to make commitment that is going to help us achieve that. Honorable,
Dr. Leo, of course, the students. Good morning. I was about to call Brother Jonas Thomas because I think he I also don't know, I almost got tensed because the speaker who spoke after me, or before me, So I was wondering which case I am having. But I'll try to behave well so that the judge does not have anything here this morning, and especially because of what has brought us here today, including the theme. If you look at the for socio entrepreneurship, and those who are Kenyans, I'm sure they know that we are Africa and Africa is our business. And therefore, this is before. I've put my phone here because I use my phone as the watch all the time. I was requested to deal with. And forgive me if I don't have a very formal speech. I honestly don't like having formal speeches. And I am a member of parliament. It is important to say what we are doing at our level, because I've seen every speaker, they have also enumerated their and it is important that I mention education is one of the policies. I am sure I was invited to talk about policies. Education is one of the, in fact, education and health are associating the level of the income. They go to schools or to